Hi, I'm Deborah Sadler, and I am the author of the trilogy Words of the Temple, A New Humanity, which is a positive cosmic perspective of what's been taking place on our planet. And this video is for entertainment purposes only. And I am going to talk about the precession of the equinoxes, which is a cosmic perspective of what is taking place. And I am going to pull up a document that I am going to share with you that is the foundation of the philosophy and perspective of this trilogy. And it explains why we are going through such a challenging time and such a divisive time. So I am going to pull up this diagram that my colleague Eric Rollo and I developed for purposes of explaining what is going on in our galaxy. And so you can see here, I call it one platonic year. And the reason I call it one platonic year is because it takes the sun 26,000 years to go around Alcyon, which is the brightest star in the Pleiadian galaxy. And in this 26,000 years, you can see from the diagram that it goes through every sign of the zodiac. It goes through Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, and Aquarius. And at the bottom here, it says separation from unity. And then it also says masculine, feminine, reversal. And at the top part, you can see it's light. So this part down here, I call the shadow. And the top part is really the light, and it's called reintegration into unity. And it also is the balance of masculine and feminine. And so we are unified when we are up here in this part, and we are separate when we are down here in this part. That is our consciousness, is a consciousness of separation, and up here it's a consciousness of unity. So each sign takes 2,160 years to go through. And as you know, we've been in the sign of Pisces. And so we are getting ready we are right here where it shows the sun. And this is about how the sun moves around, as I said, its cycle around Alcyon. And the ancients knew about this, and the indigenous knew about this. And they knew that the time that we live in right now was going to be the most critical time ever. And so we chose to come here during this time. We manipulated and cajoled and planned for us to be here during this most exciting time on Earth ever. And so there is what is called the precession of the equinoxes, and that is basically what we're going through. And if you look at this little band that goes across here, that is really where the Milky Way galaxy is. The Milky Way galaxy is actually fairly flat. And so this is where the Milky Way galaxy is. And I started studying astrology when I was 25, which was a long time ago. And I remember reading in Llewellyn George's book, which is like printed in 1910 or something like that, about the precession of the equinoxes and how when it was that time, it meant that the sun was lined up with the center of the galaxy. So not only is this Alcyon, but this is also our galaxy running across here. So right now, the sun is from the perspective of the Earth, lined up exactly with the center of our galaxy. This is a very, very powerful time. It takes 36 years to go through the precession of the equinoxes, which is basically going through the depth of the galaxy. This is a galaxy going across here, and we are moving through it. We're moving from being at the bottom of the galaxy to being to the top of the galaxy. And this 36-year window started in 1994, and it closes in 2030. So we have largely moved through a great part of it. In 12/21, 2012 was the midpoint of the precession of the equinoxes. And I have been a student of Kryon since 2017. And he likes to talk about the precession of the equinoxes all the time. And he talks about how this was the end of the Mayan calendar. And the Mayan calendar was largely a calendar of consciousness. And so there is a shift in consciousness that occurred when we hit the midpoint because we're going from the shadow and separation into the light and into unity. And we've got 36 years to get there. So we're having major dramatic shifts in our lifetime as a result of this. And so we are getting ready to go into what you can see is the Aquarian age. So not only are we shifting ages, and we know that actually this was the age of Moses down here in Aries, which Kryon likes to talk about as the dispensation of law. The 10 Commandments, which Kryon likes to call the 10 Suggestions. This was the law for humanity. And this came in the era of Moses. And that's why he said, stop honoring false gods in the ram, because we were removing over here the ram of Taurus to the horns, the head of Aries, and that's not a very good description of it. But basically, during the era of Moses, he set down the laws, the 10 suggestions. And then Christ came along and said, you know what? God isn't just law, God is love. And I think that's where we got the whole idea that Jesus was here to forgive us our sins, because when we lived in the time of Moses, we were all sinners. We were all doing something wrong. Who could live by those tenets? And so then Christ came along, but he was about love. And that was the message that he brought. And there was a shift in consciousness. And we moved to a consciousness of loving and respecting and caring for one another, instead of always being hard on people because they were not living up to the law. And so here we are at the end of the Piscean era, and we're going into the Aquarian era, which is about everyone. In other words, the power isn't in the politicians, it's not in the ministers, the priests, the monks, it's in the people. And so we're moving to the power to the people. And we're going to be there for 2,100 years. So what is taking place right now on our planet is we are moving from the shadow, from the dark. So this line across here is called this is the line of the solstice. It's the line of the sun. And this is the line of the equinox here. The one that is going up and down is the line of the equinox. So it's just equal here and equal here. But what happens is the sun will continue to go around. And as it goes around, it's going to form different angles. And I actually have another diagram to show you. And I'm going to click on that real quick. And I'm going to share this diagram. Hopefully I'm not making a mess of things. This diagram shows what happens when the sun starts moving around this cycle. There is not a cross, but when the sun is lined up over here, you can see this is the line of the solstice and this is the line of the equinox. And so we have a cross. And that cross, and I'm going to go back here. Oops. I'm going to go back to the other diagram, if I can find it. That cross, I'm going to stop the share. So there's a cross. And that's where we're at. It's called the galactic cross. It's called the heavenly cross. The cross that we know of as being a symbol of religion is not a symbol of religion. It is a symbol of the precession of the equinoxes, which occurs every 26,000 years. And humanity has known about these cycles because we used to live outside. And we followed the stars. And that's how we lived, and that's how we made decisions, and that's how we planted our crops. The stars were everything to us. And so right now, we are at that grand cross placement. And that's where the cross came from. It came from the stars because we're at a crossroads. We are moving from the shadow to the light. And so we have been, if I We have been in the darkness. I'm going to go again here to the share, and I'm going to pull this up. We have been in the darkness for 13,000 years. And Kryon would tell us we've actually been in the darkness for eons. We've been in the shadow for eons. We've been war. It's a reflection of where our consciousness has been. One war after another war, just continuing the same old cycle. Well, where we are right now is we are moving from the shadow. We're moving from the consciousness of separation into the light. And we're moving into unity consciousness where we have the balance of the masculine and the feminine. But we're just starting that. We're just starting that transition. And as I have mentioned, we have 36 years to get through this transition. And so what you're seeing playing out on our planet is a dance between the dark and the light. And we're coming from the dark and we're moving into the light. And Kryon tells us that because we're moving through this precession of the equinoxes, that the dark light quotient has shifted from the dark being the greater amount over the light, and now the light is in a greater amount over the dark, which means the light is winning. And what happens when the light is winning is the light shows what the dark is up to. And it was only recently that we started to be able to see what the dark is up to. And as the sun continues to move further into this new hemisphere, 13,000 years of light, which is even grander than that, because for whatever reason, this precession of the equinoxes is the one that is the most important. Kryon says when we passed the marker on 12/21/2012, we moved into an enlightened status. We're moving into an ascended planet status. There's only one planet in the galaxy that is a planet of choice and free will at a time, and we are that planet. And there is so much support in our galaxy for what we're moving through because our star parents, who are the Pleiadians, went through the exact same thing. And this is how you become an ascended planet. And so we're moving from the dark into the light. And the dark is used to being dominant, and it's used to being in charge, and it's used to getting its way. But we're just shifting into the light, and now the light is greater than the dark. And so what's happening on our planet is we're starting to see, because as Kryon says, when you turn on a light in a dark room, you see the dirt. Or he likes to say, when one person lights a match in a dark room, you start to see what's going on around you. And another person lights a match, and you see more of what's going around you. And another person lights a match. And so that's what's happening, is the light is emerging, and it's showing us what the dark is up to on our planet. And Kryon will tell us there is a dark-light battle taking place on our planet right now. And the dark does not want to give up its power, and it doesn't want to give up its influence, and it certainly doesn't want to give up its money and its prosperity. And so it is doing everything it can to hold on to power and to hold on to control over humanity. But what's happening is we're in the light now. We shifted. Everything shifted because the planets are always moving forward. They are not when planets retrograde, they're not even going backwards. They appear to be going backwards from planet Earth. So the sun continues to move. It's moved into the area of the light. And so now we're starting to see what the dark is up to. And we're like, wow, that's not right. And that's not right. And that's not right, because they're lying, they're cheating, they're stealing. And quite frankly, they're practicing two-faced hypocrisy. And this has been going on all my life. It's actually been going on for a long, long time. As I said, Kryon would say eons. But humanity is waking up because we passed that marker of 12/21/2012. And so we are in the light, and the light is greater than the dark, and we are awakening to our magnificence. You know, we've been told by religion that we're just we're sinners, right? We're born dirty, that we can't do anything right. We're going to go to horrible places if we do anything wrong. that God is a big, nasty guy with a big beard on a cloud waiting for us to screw up and to punish us. And, that is not the truth of what's going on and what has been going on in our universe. That is just not the truth. The truth is we're born magnificent. And Kryon provides the information about why we are born magnificent. But our science tells us the same thing. Our science tells us, we're just a random piece of material that just sort of happened. We're like a happy accident. We're here by intention. We're here because there is a creator and there is creator energy and there is a lineage that comes from the stars. And so the Pleiadians are our star parents, and they came here and they star seeded us 200,000 years ago. And what they star seeded us with is a piece of the creator. And Kryon tells us that this creator resides in our 24th pair of chromosomes, which is where our intuition is. It's also where the light of the creator is. It's divinity, and it's in every one of our cells that we are a piece of divinity. We are not all of divinity, but we are sacred beings, and we were put here for sacred purposes. And each and every one of us is valuable, and we're each here for a reason. And so we're coming from these stories from the dark about how we don't matter. We're in a culture right here in the United States where we have leaders that just call people names. And there's blame going on in our media. Everything is because somebody did this and somebody did that. And it's just really a lot of negative finger pointing and name calling because it's old energy. And the universe shifted in 2012, and it no longer supports that old energy. And so we're watching that old energy flounder. And at the same time, we're watching the humanity awaken. And the earth, Gaia, is awakening too, because it's written in the stars that when the sun, from the perspective of the earth, lined up with the center of the galaxy, that we would be in a huge cosmic shift. And this time in this shift, we are moving into ascension status because we have awakened enough. And there were enough of us in the late 1980s and the 1990s who had high enough consciousness and a positive enough perspective on life and our contribution to it that we raised the consciousness of the planet so that we passed the marker. We did not blow ourselves up, as was the prophecy. We did not have Armageddon. We did not have any of that because there were enough of us who chose love over hate and peace over war. And we are continuing to carry on that mantle. So I just wanted to give you a little indication of how this is in Words of the Temple, Working Toward World Peace. This is book 1. All of this is laid out in it, but this is a cosmic event that we are going through. And so I really want you to understand that there is a light, dark battle taking place on the planet. And the people who are mean and nasty and divisive are holding the energy of the dark. And quite frankly, that's where we've come from. So for many people on the planet now, that is a comfort zone. That feels like home. But for many of us, we are tired of this old, worn out cycle of war and contention and being manipulated by the powers that be. And so we are awakening to our own magnificence, and we are awakening to the magnificence of our planet, of our galaxy, and our brothers and sisters on this planet. So as the sun moves forward in its trajectory into Aquarius, which is a humanitarian sign, it will be there for 2,100 years. Pluto went into Aquarius for its final time on November 20th, 2024. It will be there for 20 years. So we're moving, despite the appearance or the conditions that we see, into a time that is pure people power. And the power will not be so much in the governments or in the corporations or in the rich or in the oligarchs or in the billionaires. Their time came and went. That was when Pluto was in Capricorn, and that was for 16 years. And here they are when Pluto goes into Aquarius. Cosmic joke. Guess what? Power just went to the people. So if you want to know more about this, you can find my books on Amazon. Words of the Temple, Working Toward World Peace is the first one, A New Humanity. And then the second one is Words of the Temple, Walking into the Pyre. And this is about the insurrection that took place, the inauguration of Joe Biden, and the impeachment, the second impeachment of Donald Trump. And then the third book is called Words of the Temple, Unmasking the Corona. And this book is really about how we came out of COVID. So if you want to know more about the influence of the stars on humanity and on the planet, and how we are in a really great place and things are going to get even better. And eventually, the dark is going to be so weak that it just fades back into the nothingness from where it came. You will find that more and more we will be agreeing. This peace settlement in the Mideast, Kryon told us in his first book, The End Times, that was written in 1991, that the last war on this planet would be in the Mideast. He says these are our last two wars, the war in Ukraine and the war in the Mideast, because we're in unity consciousness and we're in the light. And the light is going to show what the dark is up to, that is trying to keep us separate. So have faith and have hope that all of this taking place right now on our planet and taking place in our politics is a phase that we have to go through as an ascended planet. And basically what we have to do is we have to shine our light so bright that the dark fades away even faster than it's scheduled to. Kryon says in the next 3 generations, we will move from the dark to the light, and it's a matter of attrition. People who are happy and content with the dark and support it, they will be dying off, but they will not be replaced by folks who have that same perspective, because we are awakening, and the 24th pair of chromosomes is awakening on this planet, along with other mechanisms put in place by the Pleiadian star mothers. And if you want to know more about that, you could read the trilogy. So I just want you to have hope and faith that all is well. And I wish you a wonderful week and a wonderful year. Do this. Oh, end. Interesting. End. Okay.